Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny and today I am going to be talking to you about some of my recent favorites in the sci-fi genre. Sci-fi is definitely something that I've gotten a little bit more into this year. It's always been something that I have dabbled in, but never my primary genre. And I think I'm starting to understand what I like and what I dislike in sci-fi, but I feel like also I've just scratched the surface, so take this with a grain of salt. But I am going to be talking to you guys about 5 books that I have read recently that I've just absolutely loved. I'm going to start with my lowest rated, which is a 4.5, all the way up to some 5-star reads that I've had. And then I'm also going to tell you some books that are just in my mind of possible TBR options, possible sci-fi books that I will pick up in the near future. Starting with a favorite that I rated a 4.5 star, that will be How to Steal a Galaxy. Now this is actually book 2 in the Chaotic Orbit series. The first book is Full Speed to a Crash Landing, and I will say I think that this series got better in the middle book. I haven't read the 3rd book yet, so who knows if it's going to continue on that trajectory or if it's going to decline again. They've both been in the 4-star range. I think the first one I gave a 4.25. This one, I just liked the fact that we were in a central location and it was very much an old school kind of heisty situation that we had going on that I thought was very fun. If you haven't heard of this series, the first book, Full Speed to a Crash Landing, starts with our main character who is a spacecraft pilot, and she is stuck out in space on a broken ship with life support failing, and she has put out an SOS. She knows that there is a ship that is receiving the signal, but doesn't know whether or not they are actually going to come and save her. They do, and she gets on their ship, and you automatically know that she is not telling them everything because you're in her head. She is very honest with everything and will tell you that she's not telling the whole story, even to the people that she's on this ship with. And I think that's all I'm going to tell you. These are novellas. They are very short, and so I don't want to give too much away. One of my favorite things, though, about this story that I do think just needs to be noted is this author's ability to tell the reader everything they need to know without actually giving away what's happening. I think it's very fun, and I think this series is going to be an absolute blast to reread because you're going to understand all of the little breadcrumbs that were laid for you along the way. On to another series, which I ended up reading the final book in this series, a 4.75. I promise that the top 3 recommendations I have for you guys are standalones if you guys are not looking to read series, but I think Murderbot has to have a place on this list. I have not read all of these or all of the Murderbot series recently. I've only read probably the last 3 books within this year. But I just dearly love the series, and I think this last book was probably my favorite. It would be a contender for, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 that I just dearly loved, but I don't know. It was excellent though. This ending, there was a lot of wrap up and kind of nods back to previous stories, which I really appreciate whenever an author can call back, especially to a point where you as a reader don't feel like you're missing something. You're given enough information, essentially, is all I'll say about that. If you haven't heard of Murderbot, you are following a defensive robot that is going around, and he is assigned to different human teams to protect them on various missions throughout the galaxy. And he really doesn't like doing this. He does not enjoy protecting humans. He just wants to sit at home and watch his soap operas. He's very fascinating. I love being in his head and his sass, his humor, and how he grows throughout the arc of the storyline is just amazing. I have really loved the conversations throughout this series about what it means to be human, what it means to be a living being and have agency over yourself. I think it's absolutely excellently done, and the end of the series was just chef's kiss. On to my 5-star recommendations. This one actually made my best list for 2024 because I did read this in December at the very end of the year, and I have talked to you guys about it. That is Service Model. I absolutely love this book. It is fantastic, and it is sci-fi. It's also slightly cozy, but not in a traditional sense. In this, you are following a valet robot whose name is Uncharles. And you get to see him at the very beginning of the book. He is in his element. He is the valet for the master of the house. He has all of his chores and tasks lined out in his head. He does them at a certain time of day, and he likes organization. Well, you very quickly learn that the master of the house has been murdered, and Uncharles, his only task in life has ever been to be a valet, and so he needs to find his purpose. He also needs to find out along the way what happened as far as his master is concerned, because he thinks that he is the one who killed him. And so you explore that with him as well as he walks through this dying world. One of the things I really, really enjoyed about Service Model is Uncharles doesn't realize that there's anything wrong with the world. He's hyper fixated on being a valet and wanting to have that purpose, that he doesn't see what's in front of him as something that could potentially be wrong. And so his descriptions of what is happening in the world, what he sees when he exits his home and as he travels across the land, he is just telling you factually, this is what he sees. And you, because we have the context of the world, we have his eyes and the people he's interacting with, the robots he's interacting with, to gain an understanding of what's actually happening in society. And I just found it lovely. He grew on me. I will say at the very beginning of the story, I was a little worried that I wouldn't enjoy his perspective because he was so clinical in his descriptions, but he grows. He has a character arc. And I think an absolutely fantastic one. So this is definitely a story that I would recommend picking up if you guys do enjoy a robot story. The next 5-star recommendation I have for you guys, I do plan on adding to my physical collection. I just don't have my copy in my hands yet. That is The Fourth Consort. I love this book. It was so much fun. This is by the same author of Mickey 7, which I also enjoyed. That's why I picked up The Fourth Consort. This was definitely not what I was expecting though. When you read the synopsis, it talks about Dalton, who's our main character, who gets taken in by an organization called Unity. And Unity is run by giant snails and a person named Nira. It also talks about how Nira has recruited Dalton in order to keep herself out of the limelight of getting eaten by the giant snails. But, so I was expecting, I guess, silly and whimsical, and I was expecting the giant snails to have more of a part in the story. And they do, but it's not as big of a part to play as I thought. You are really following Dalton and Nira, who are on a planet, and they are trying to convince the aliens on this planet that they should adopt Unity as their overseers. So Unity claims to be an organization that wants to help protect planets and keep the cultures within planets what they are, and protect them from essentially outside sources. There are 2 organizations that say that this is their goal, and so what you learn throughout the story is the difference between the 2 organizations. You also learn why Dalton has decided to go with Unity or has decided to work for Unity, what led him to make those decisions. He didn't really have a lot to hold on to on Earth, so you learn about his history. You also learn through that history why he makes some of the choices and respects some of the culture that is in this alien civilization. One of my favorite things about this story was how Dalton would adapt and learn from stories that he had heard from the Stickman, which is his enemy on the planet, but also just from his past storyline. What you learn about him in his you get like little flashbacks of his history and how that helps him make the decisions in this alien place. I thought it was lovely. It's very fast paced, very fun. I think it was a really great time, and I want more people to read it because I do think that it has a broader audience than I feel like Mickey 7 did, even though I really enjoyed Mickey 7 as well. I just don't know that the right people are going to pick it up because of the synopsis sounding a little wiggly wobbly, I guess. The last 5-star recommendation I immediately went out and bought as soon as I finished reading it, and that was The Last Gifts of the Universe. Oh, I love this book. It's so good. In this storyline, you are following a brother and a sister who are traveling in the universe trying to find answers to what is destroying civilizations around them. They noticed that there are a ton of planets and worlds around them that have been completely eradicated of life, to the point where there's no water, there's no bugs, there's nothing living on these planets, and it seems like something that has happened very quickly. They want to know what's happening so they can take the answers back to their home planet and protect their families and their cultures. Well, as they are looking for this information, that information is also being hunted by another party. And so they're at odds with these people as well. And they run into some information that they didn't expect. And part of this is, I don't know. I don't want to give too much away. This is a story of grief. It's a story of human connection, of legacy, and I think it's absolutely lovely. It also has this really cute cat whose name is Pumpkin, and he travels to the planets with the siblings in his little spacesuit. So he adds some kind of cute and fuzzy to a story that's already really lovely. I absolutely love this book, and I am going to continue to talk about it over and over and over again until more people read it. Just to give you some books that I have in mind that I would like to pick up at some point in time, I'm just going to rapid fire at you. If you have any suggestions for me, I would love to hear them. I think I have a vibe going on of kind of fun, quirky, cozy sci-fi, but I also enjoy the introspection and the kind of exploration of human connection and grief as well within sci-fi. So I think it is broad, but I do think that I'm narrowing the field a little bit to what I want. The first two of my TBR books are books that involve food. You have Automatic Noodle, which comes out in August, and it's about a whole bunch of robots who run their own noodle shop. That's all I need to know. It's supposed to be cozy. It's a novella. I also have the Cybernetic Tea Shop, which is about an AI who runs a tea shop. And I think in the world that they live in, it is actually illegal for her to exist, but she has just continued the tea shop that her old master has had. I think it sounds really cozy. I'm excited about that one. So not all of them have food, but those two do. The next one is a Rover's Story, and it's a middle grade. And the cover just reminds me of WALL-E, which is why I put it on my TBR originally. But it's about a little rover who goes into Mars, and the entire world is watching him find his way through Mars and kind of catalog everything that's going on. And there was a question in the synopsis that essentially says that they don't believe that the rover can actually feel any emotion or anything. It's not supposed to be a living being, but throughout his journey in the Mars terrain and what he finds, I think people's perspective on him changes slightly. So I think it's going to be cute. Next, we have Luminous, which I think is probably the more serious of the ones I have on this list. I know that it is involving siblings. There are 3 siblings. 2 of them are human. One of them is a robot. And I believe one of the human siblings has had some limbs replaced with robotic parts. And I think that there's some discussion throughout this story about what it means to be human, what it means to be important, and to have, autonomy is not the right word, but essentially to be, to have rights. I'll put it that way. So I am excited to read it. I do think, as I said, I think it's going to be a little bit heavier than some of the other books that I have on this TBR. The last one I will mention is Only Bad Options, which is stated to be a mix of Star Wars, Bridgerton, and Pride and Prejudice. But it talks about a woman who sees something happen, I can't remember where, maybe she works on spaceships, and she sees something being created incorrectly and blows the whistle on it. And so there are people who are hunting her. She's also a seer and psychic. So I think that that's kind of an interesting twist. This one does have some fantasy elements to it. And as she's being hunted, I think some kind of snobby aristocrat comes in to save her. I don't know. I think it sounds fun, and I like the mix. I think I'm gonna like the mix of Star Wars, Bridgerton, and Pride and Prejudice. So here's to hoping that this one's up my alley. Let me know in the comments if you guys have read any of these books, what you thought of them. If you have any recommendations for me, I would love to hear those as well. If you're not feeling chatty, but you still want to let me know that you're here, let's leave a little teapot for service model in the comments down below, so I know that you guys are with me. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!